Good morning, everybody. Wake up, wake up, wake up, rise, rise, rise. It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020, Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Epic Media Association. And I am the co-host and co-producer of the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care and Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And Ryan Knight's in the house on the Morning Vibe.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Good day. Always a pleasure to be with you in the morning. And for those that don't know who Ryan Knight is, I'm one of the co-founders of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network. We work with entrepreneurs of African and Caribbean heritage, really to figure out what stage the business is in today and then help them create a blueprint to grow their companies exponentially. I'm also an entrepreneur myself. I run a company called Detailing Nights. We provide mobile waterless car cleaning. So we go to your house or to your office, clean your car on the spot without water, and our plant-based eco-friendly cleaning supplies. And you'll see I've been rocking my PACU shirt, which stands for the Pan-African Credit Union. So if you want to see a financial institution led by the Black community and to support the Black community, definitely go to pacu.ca, PACU.ca, and pledge to get this bank into existence. So their application to become a credit union is in. It's now for us as the community to show our support.
All right. Before we go any further, today's episode is lovingly and wonderfully sponsored by the Macmillan Group. And they've been providing mortgage solutions, one client at a time since 1999, buying, refinancing, or investing. Call them at 905-813-4354 in Canada or US, 904-8586-5636. Yes, they are licensed to do mortgages, Canada and the United States. So that is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. And let's talk about it. What's going on? What's going on? Ryan, you've been, as usual, a positive, productive guy. You had a big conference last week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Well, what was going on with that?
We're getting great feedback that people found value out of the conference, which is always my litmus test if we're going to be doing any types of events, because people are taking their time to show up in person, even showing up online. And hey, there's a lot of stuff that people could be doing other than attending the conference. So we always want to make sure that people get value out of it. And so the Wednesday was the capacity building day for the ecosystem partners. So the ecosystem's part of the Black entrepreneurship program that the federal government created, which had the loan program, the ecosystem, and the knowledge hub. So the ecosystem is the organizations that are supporting Black businesses. So 40 of them got funding, about 100 million was dispersed between the 40. So the Wednesday was to bring us together to work on what does collaboration, and there was a Professor Jessica Nemhart that talked a lot about cooperatives and how the Black community used cooperatives in the past to really navigate treacherous times. and another gentleman, Brian Jenkins, that talked about, of course, social enterprise that I talk about a lot, and how can we make our nonprofits sustainable so we don't have to only rely on government funding. So Wednesday was a great conversation.
Nice. Sounds like, yeah, the Wednesday almost seems like it was like a lockup.
It's like, listen,
Like it was
we're
like
gonna
a,
get in
like
this
a whole
room.
day lockup and just deep diving.
100%. And because everybody is kind of in their own organizations, some of them across Canada, we don't always get to really strategize together. So that's where, and that's what I want either the conference to become is, okay, every year at least we can step back and really make a strategy for the next year and for years to come.
Nice. And then what about the other 2 days?
So the Thursday, Friday, I would say was the main conference. So inviting I would say the broader ecosystem. Yes, 40 organizations got funded, but they do not encompass the entire Black community's ecosystem. One, they're only economic. So us 40 organizations are economic focused. We wanted to extend the invitation to the other themes of the Black community. So touching on education, health, justice, social, political, and media. So us now coming together to one, I would say the Thursday was more the overview of like what the ecosystem is doing, key, I say key points from different organizations like the Black Opportunity Fund, FACE, Toronto Community Benefits Network. Shout out to Craig, Tiffany, and Rosemary that joined us. And then also hearing from some of the up and coming startups. So Chloe, Cheyenne, Kofi, Hope, and oh my gosh, Chris Beth was on that panel, moderated by Michelle, the president of the Black Chamber. No, yes, the Black Chamber of Commerce.
Canadian
So,
blockchain, Michelle
yeah,
Meggy, yes.
yeah, and beyond that, digging into a PR communication, how to really get our stories told. And unfortunately, Tanya Williams came down. She was a bit sick, so she wasn't able to make it to the conference, but her panel was about advocacy through the arts. So Havaya Mighty was on that panel. Oh my gosh, Charles, I'm missing his last name.
Senior. Charles Officer.
Officer, right. And Fenella, oh no, Fenella was on
No,
the
the
PR one,
Fenella and Ricardo were on the
the
PR
PR panel.
panel. Yeah.
Well, just getting to hear from these, I'd say resident geniuses. Like there's people in our community that typically don't get the spotlight, and we want to be able to give them a platform so we can learn from them. And doing the breakout sessions now, people got to, I'll say, have a more intimate conversation around like strategic planning, ecosystem communication, sustainability, and social enterprise. There was the business of the arts, and I believe you were part of that
I
panel.
was
So
on that
I'm
panel
very
with you.
curious how that conversation went with your breakout room.
Well, it was great, and got some comments here. Emma saying, "Good morning. I missed the conference. Hope it went well."
Yeah,
Sheldon saying, "Amazing conference." No, it was a great panel because we had great evaluate experience. We had, and I say this respectfully, some of the OGs, Farley, myself, Trey Armstrong. Then we had Havaya Mighty. So we had two ends of the spectrum of people involved in the arts. So it was a really good conversation, and basically they got down to we've got to control our own narrative, which I've been saying for years in regards to the arts, that too many times the real power, the people who are making the real decisions do not look like us. So we had a really, it was I wish it was longer, and actually some people stayed after the conversation. We had some more conversations after that. So it was a good panel. Good again, various experiences, people in different parts of the journey. So it was a valuable conversation.
And I would say that was the running theme. More time. People after coming out of their breakout sessions, I had to go and like go get people from upstairs that were still in their conversations because it was so fruitful. And I remember one of the facilitators came down. She's like, "We just finished a delectable conversation," and I was like, "Who uses that word?" It just sent chills down my body. So yeah, that being like that feedback to now really design the conference more around those conversations. It's nice to, and again, maybe a mix, but it's nice to hear presentations and have panels. But when we actually get to talk to each other and hear people's feedback and then like be able to respond, that's where I would say a lot of the energy and conversation really spikes up. So I definitely want to get more time with that because our
Sure.
panel was great too.
What went down on day 3?
So day 3, again, we were extending that conversation out to the different themes of the Black community. But it's oh man, it started off with Eldon Holder Sr. digging into the principles that the Black community should be working by. I've never heard this gentleman speak and give a keynote, and he needed more time. It was just
Oh
like,
yeah,
oh
yeah.
man,
I
it
haven't
was a
seen him
half
in a
day.
few. I haven't seen him in a few years. I remember we met a number of years ago, but we haven't. And unfortunately, I couldn't be there. But I would have loved to be in his presence. And little sidebar:
Mm.
Eldon Holder Sr. was one of the people that propelled me to start doing Black Canada Talking.
Okay. And it was interesting hearing how he's been involved with a lot of the different initiatives that have come out for the Black community. And again, it's those people that are behind the scenes
Yep,
in the right
he's
positions,
definitely a behind the scenes guy.
right? And so you don't really know, and then they don't usually get the platform, or nor do they want it. Like
No, they
he's
don't.
happy just doing the work. But I was really pleased that he came in person, first of all, and because he's up in Ottawa,
Yep.
and being able to really lay it down that we can't move forward without principles that we live by.
Yeah,
Like,
he is a very deep and strategic thinker.
yeah.
And people need, whenever you hear him speak, it comes from knowledge, and he has evaluated experience, especially when it comes on the government end, on how government works.
Yes.
He has. I know he was in a department. He's now in a different department now. So he has all those years of evaluated experience. So yeah, him and I go back. It seems like we've known each other forever, but we've only known each other for a few years. And actually, I've had time to break bread with him at his home. So that
We need
is
to figure out a way to convince him to do a master class like about government relations. I don't know how it would look. I know
that would
he's
be
just
interesting. And I think that the challenge, he'd have to be very careful
right.
because of his role in government. But I think if he ever leaves government, I think the knowledge that he could bring in a no holds bar conversation about that
Yeah, just
would
totally
be
open.
good. So, what did you get out of the conference?
So what did I get out of it? As the conference was coming near, I'm thinking to myself, next 2 months, 3 months, I have to cool down. I like it's such a ramp up to execute that type of conference. And I'm telling the team, I was like, yeah, man, July, August, I'm not gonna be as involved. But then the conference happens, and it's like you totally get re-energized. Like I'm talking to just myself. I'm re-energized in the way that
Mm-hmm.
people didn't want those conversations to end at the conference. So now how do we keep the momentum going? And what came out of it, and it started with the Wednesday where Professor Nemhart was talking about cooperatives typically start in like study groups. So you don't have to create a professional official cooperative out the gate, but you should be meeting on a regular basis to continue the learning, and then you can formalize it later. So we brought it up at the conference, and that had a lot of positive feedback. So that's actually what one of my first priorities is to do coming out of this conference. We sent out an email to everybody that attended, whether it was online or virtual, to say, or online or in person, if you're interested in this study group, we have the first date set. So Tuesday evening, June 28th. Hey, let's start this conversation. We're gonna do it here at Empowered for X and maybe move it around. I'm gonna talk with Sean at Knowledge Bookstore here in Brampton because they used to do book clubs. I was like, yo, how do we get back to us coming together and learning together? He said, hey, he's down, so maybe we'll move it around to different locations. But that's what I got. I got totally re-energized. I'm ready to do the work. We got to talk about the Black Empowerment Manifesto as possibly a guide that we can use as we're strategizing for the next 50 years. And I'm ready. And it seemed like the room was ready too.
Well, that's I also know you had Dr. Pierre.
Yes. And so that was the next panel that we had on the Friday, talking about of course, the importance of data, but who is actually collecting this data. So himself with DPB and oh my gosh, DPB Global, where his research firm is we're working together with them on the first Black labor market assessment. But they've been doing research, and they're probably have the most data on Black Canadians in anybody in North America, because they do a lot of international work, so in the Caribbean and overseas. And they actually have been doing a lot of work in Canada. And also another gentleman, John, that was from Cultural IQ, they've been working on a Black consumerism report. So these are the people that are collecting data about the Black community, but now a lot of people didn't know who they were. So the questions that were coming out was, where's this data going? Who's in charge of it? How do we use it to make better decisions? That, to me, we really have to lean into research and the data that is being collected. And even with data that's in like StatsCan, who's organizing this data so that the Black community can make decisions? And if they're missing certain questions, we have to push them to ask those questions. So that conversation then sparked the next round of breakout sessions, where each theme got to dig deeper into how can data help us make better decisions, again, in education, healthcare, justice, social and political. The data, we can't wing it anymore. We have to be strategic.
There you go. Good morning, Marlon Stevens says, follow up is key. Follow up and follow through is key.
100%. And that's where I didn't want it to fall off, because if we reconvene, let's say in September, we're going to lose that fire. We're going to lose the energy. We have to figure out a way, and creating steering committees like in each of these themes, so that way we can map out what the priority is in each theme, but the other thing is like who's already operating in these themes that we can support, because the economic side should be supporting the other pillars.
So Marlon says, folks are always energized after something like a conference. I am engaged. Looking forward to seeing how we make that happen. And I think the key thing is making it happen, and making it happen sooner rather than later, because once that conference ends, people's lives happen.
Kick back in.
So
and that's where,
do you have a thought process of how to keep people engaged? As of yet, do you have something on what you're going to do, you and your organization, or the organizations are going to do to keep people engaged?
Yeah, one piece. So in the email that I sent out, the 3 keys was one, like that study group. So Thursday, June 28th is going to be the first one. And then the Slack channel, so that people that are attending these events.
Tuesday 28th. June 28th, Tuesday.
Yes, Tuesday evening from 6 to 7:30. So that it was what the conference really ended with, is asking people, are you committed to continue the work? And it'll be packaged in these weekly meetings. And then we already were doing a monthly meeting. So the last Friday of each month, which is actually this Friday. So inviting people to, again, continue the conversation, strategic planning around what our organizations are doing. And then, so the Slack channel and the weekly meetings and the monthly meeting would be my follow-up. So if we can commit to that and keep this going, we get a lot of work done between now and the next conference.
There you go. There you go.
Yes.
Marlon says Slack channels, free conversations end after 10,000 messages, for an FYI.
And good to know, because that ties into, as organizations, we all got funded, but how do we group by things that are necessary? So if the pro version of Slack is necessary, we have the funds to get the pro. Like we should not be worried about the Slack running out because we only have the free version. Same thing with Zoom. Like, let's get the pro version of things, people.
So Marlon says, I'm open to rebranding SCV Labs and making it more available overall. So there may be an opportunity there.
We'll
There
definitely
you
talk about
go.
that.
Yeah, for me, it was meeting some people I hadn't seen in a bit. People like I haven't seen Ricardo McCray in a bit, hadn't seen well, obviously pandemic, but even before pandemic, finally
Mm.
meeting Tim Frey.
Yes, yes.
Hadn't met him before. It
Shout
was
out.
good to me. I just meeting some new people. Met There was a lady who came up to me who remembers me from the last time I was at Sheridan for one of your events, and I just
Nice.
went, wow. Met ladies, people like Ketchup Peters, etc. Now here's the interesting thing: everyone who gave me their contact information, by end of day Friday, I had followed up with all of them.
Boom. Love it.
Well, the concerning part is only three or four of those people have responded back to me, which is no problem. But
Ah,
again, as the follow up and follow through is important, and going to an earlier event you had a few months ago when George Fraser talked about, 7 key things of I'll say the word because he said he's the master of networking. uh follow through is critical. So I see how serious people are by how soon they get back to me, or if no, not even
yes.
soon, if they get
If.
back to me.
Jeez.
That's it. If I'm not, and that's how soon, but if they get back to me. But some people want to have some conversation with myself, so it's a good thing. But
And
yeah, sounds like a
I'm
good
curious to get
conference.
your feedback around what would you want to see come out of this conference? Because Marlon is right. We typically have these events and we get energized, but what would you want to see actually happen?
Well, and I piggyback on what Marlon's saying, that everyone's excited at the conference. Once it's finished, what's next? So it's my suggestion is the next time. Well, I think key, especially since you're not going to be holding an event of this mass status for a while, is what are you going to do over the summer? Because people are thinking, are in summer mindset right now. And
Yes. Yes.
in the challenge that we have, time never lost a fight. So it'll be taking those who are serious and running with them. Those who aren't serious for whatever reason, maybe legitimate or not, that's not a big problem. But I think taking those who are serious and run with them, that's a key. Taking the people who are serious and running with them, finding out, what they're able to do, what are they committed to do, and just make it happen, and keeping the general population informed of what's going on. So I
Yeah,
think
and that
having those regular sessions are key, but keep people informed of what's happening, because if they don't hear from you, they don't think anything's happening. And even
100%.
your especially your critics.
Yes. And that actually ties nicely into the black media presence at the conference. I that to me just felt right. So you, of course, Dr. Vibe was there, being able to interact with the crowd. We had Black Business Live with Gary and his team. We had Afro Global Television. They're covering the Thursday, live streaming it to the TV station, and GBKM Television with Kenny Baz. So, oh man, like that to me is what every single event that we do should have,
Mm-hmm,
like that coverage from Black media,
mm-hmm,
because now they're able to use that content and, like you're saying, get it out to those that
mm-hmm.
weren't there, repurpose it, cut it into bites. They were BBL Live was able to do interviews, so capturing.
I didn't meet them there. I didn't even know that they were there.
Oh no, well they were in the green room doing the interviews. I should have brought you up to introduce.
Well, and before we go any further,
Hmm.
huge thanks to Renee Devereaux and her team.
Yes, yes.
Humongous thanks to Renee Devereaux and her team at Sheridan for hosting it, taking care of everyone who attended. Did a phenomenal job. Actually, I had a chance to chat with her on Thursday for about 15-20 minutes, which is going to lead to some more conversations. I actually was bigging her up in the telling her the great job some of her co-op students are doing with me over this summer. And
Nice.
I highlighted one in particular, and she said, "Dr. Vibe, you made my day." So
Wonderful. I love it.
I actually have a follow-up video message to send to her this morning to
Mm.
continue the conversation. We have Ray saying here, good morning, gentlemen. Congratulations on another conference, Ryan ACBN. Well executed. He also said, where can I get a copy or access to the data on the Black population cap in Canada, tabulated by Dr. Pierre? He dropped some interesting stats, which I'd like to explore more in depthly. Thank you. Well, Ray, I can give you his contact information if you want. I've got his phone number. I've got his email address. So if you want, I can send that to you. So Ray was out there on Friday?
I think he was
or we
on
watched it virtually.
Yeah.
Probably watched it virtually.
Dr. Pierre did mention a website that they use, dpbglobal.net is the portal that a lot of their research is in. So it might be in there, but yeah, definitely reach out to him directly.
Yeah. So Ray, reach out to me and I can give you his contact information. I know what Ray would probably ideally like to meet with him face to face. I'm sure Dr. Pierre would be more than happy to do that, because that's another two powerhouses in this same meeting. I love going to conversations like that and just sit and listen. I just like to sit, because I'm not the smartest person in the room. I just like to sit and sponge it up, as I like to say. Swap and sponge. That's a swap and sponge conversation. So yeah, I think definitely what you're doing, I think over the next 90 days is mission critical on what happens, and get those people who are wanting to put some skin in the game and ride with them, because not everyone's going to have the time, or there people say I can do it and they may not. Get those ones who are really wanting to go the next step and ride with them, no matter how many they are, and get the message out. So it's good to see a lot of Black media. I did see some Black media out there, which is fantastic, and this is good. And what now?
Real quick. Thank you to buyblacks.com and Roger. They weren't able to be there in person, but they helped us with the marketing of the event itself. Mm-hmm. So just wanted to make sure that
everyone got their just due.
And what other media outlets are missing? You need to compile that list so that we make sure everybody is there for the next one.
There you go. Now, is there any way people who weren't able to catch this outstanding event will get any access to even parts of it?
Yes. So I know it was streamed to DF Media Productions YouTube page. So that is up and live. And
the whole thing?
The whole thing, Thursday and Friday. And then they're going to...
So here's another suggestion. You need to send that on your mailing list.
Right. Well, they were going to shift it over to ACBN. They were just going to edit it and cut it.
As soon as that is done, you need to. I didn't even meet Derek. I don't know. I didn't meet Derek.
He's in his little war room at the back where the cameras were.
Was that him or around that area with the two? Like, I didn't know. I saw the people at the tables, and then I saw the camera. So I guess we'll have to wait till another one of those events to see what happens. So that's good. Well, congratulations to the ACBN team and all the members of the ecosystem who made it happen. But people are watching for the next step.
100%. Yes.
You know, the challenge from where I sit with all these ecosystem partners is symbolism. You gotta get away from the symbolism. Ray is saying Kofi's conversation on housing was very insightful. The Black population needs to tap into him and his knowledge of capability. Kofi Hope is one smart dude. And actually I had a chance to chat with Kofi after his presentation or his sharing on stage, and he's got, I'm not going to say, but he's got an announcement coming up in the next 2 or 3 weeks that is big. But again, Ray, if Kofi is someone you want to be introduced to, I can provide you those details, because Kofi's in the world of development, social enterprise, etc. I can make that introduction happen if you would like, Ray. Because Kofi, I've known Kofi for a number of years, and now has his own consulting firm with a lady who used to work for Deloitte, and we had a very interesting conversation about how his mindset had been scaled up. It was really, really good. Hadn't seen him for like 4 or 5 years, and a new father for the second time. He just had a young daughter born. So very, very cool. But there's a guy who's got a lot going on. So a lot of people there in the general public. There are people you probably either never seen before or you heard of and said, I'd never see them. They were there.
Well, and that's where, because even with Kofi, he was the executive director of C. And then, so that was more, I would say, public facing. But now that he's running Monumental, his head's just down and he's doing the work.
Oh yeah.
So that's
Oh,
where, yeah,
yeah.
you won't
Oh
catch
yeah.
him
He
on the
is
line.
very, very, very focused. Very,
Yeah.
very. He always has been a very focused individual. Now, even more so, business wise and
Yeah.
family wise, because he has 2 children now.
Exactly. Yes.
He's really, really focused. So, there is a gentleman who, again, uh, stays out of the limelight. And also, he writes regular op-eds for the Toronto Star, I believe, too. So you can catch him via the
Yes.
Toronto Star. So he's got,
And every so often, he's on News Talk 1010. I think on some of the panels, I hear him in the morning.
okay, and look at this. Kofi and I are marching on meetings soon. Would like Ray to chime in on some stuff too. Oh boy, you see, here goes. And Ray's saying definitely Marlon. That so gentlemen, when you have that meeting, I want to be there. I just want to sit back and listen because there's that serious conversation with True. Marlon, definitely Kofi and you in regards to the Reed talks and Ray. That circle right there, ladies and gentlemen, if you get into their company, your head's going to be exploding in a good way.
Yes. yes.
Your head's going to be exploding in a good way, but hopefully we'll see a lot of positive conversation and positive alliances and positive movement from some of the stuff that went down on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of last week. Anything else you want to say about that command performance of what you did on the last week?
Well, 2 things. One, anybody that did attend, please make sure you got the email that invited you to the next study group, which is June 28th. If you didn't get the email, please get in contact with me, either ryan.knight@acbncanada.com. That way I'll get you the invite to it. But we're going to start posting, and I mean, there's no flyer for it yet. I was just like, I'm going to create the Eventbrite. So I'll get that out to everybody. But beyond that, there is a session tomorrow evening. So PACU is doing their first town hall about the Pan-African Credit Union at the JCA, really to explain more about what the credit union is and the submission that they made to FSRA. So if you're available, I guess a week early, join us for the PACU town hall at the JCA, which is on Arrow Road. I forget the number, but that'll get put out tomorrow evening, and I'll check the timing. I believe it's at 6. So yeah, I'll check the timing for that. So then, hey, Tuesday evenings, it's going to be about the Black ecosystem and really building each of the themes. So Thank you for that.
No problem. We wanted to say morning to Tim Frey. Good to see you, Tim.
And let me tell you, this man just had
back surgery. I had like no idea.
Mega surgery. And he came out both days in person. My heart just is full. Thank you, sir. It was so good to see
Tim,
you in person.
Honor and pleasure meeting you, Tim. I mean, wow. That was just that was one of my highlights because I said I want to meet this guy. I want to meet this guy. Yeah. There he was, pounding away at the laptop, here serving as always. And again, another understated gentleman who's just there, but doing his passion and helping others and serving others. So that was great. What else can we chat about this? Well, you got a choice. You want to talk police report from last week or Father's Day? What do you want to hit next?
We'll end with the police report. I did want to say happy Father's Day because I know you are a father figure to many, and it's more than just biological. It's those that play that role and future fathers, like being part of Young Potential Fathers. That is really key to fatherhood. So I just want to say thank you to you for the work that you do, and happy Father's Day to everyone as well.
Well, first of all, thank you. I'm no longer part of Young and Potential Fathers. I was for a few years, but it's not hard work. It's hard work. And absolutely. I did, as I've shared with some people now, I introduced myself now as the co-host and co-producer of the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care and that's the only online show that brand is sponsoring in the world. So this is like no one else. They're putting and their monies to do this. So we've been very blessed. Like that Central, which I'm a part of, we have had. I think we're going to our third. This is our third year of collaboration with Dove Men Care, and again, it's the only sort of collaboration in the world that they have with any sort of fatherhood organization. It's continuous. Like Dove Men Care will do one-offs with different things. I know in the States they do their initiatives, but we had consistent. This type of collaboration is unique to their brand globally. So I'm very humbled and honored to be part of that. And we dropped our first episode last Friday. We had a great conversation with the former NHL star Trevor Linden, who played hockey in the NHL for about 20 years, and he became a surrogate father at 47 years old.
Okay.
So he shared a little bit about that, and today we have an episode dropping with Donovan Bennett from Sportsnet, who has now just become a two-time father, and he talks about growing up in a Jamaican household, his father, etc. So that I guess I should probably put up the link. So let me put up the link for everybody. So that's where you can find that. We've pre-recorded about 6 or 7 conversations where we've got more coming. We have a conversation with Jim, who's been a stay-at-home dad for 13 years.
Okay.
And he's a funny guy, really funny guy. He was telling us when he grew up that his father had MS.
Okay.
And he said I'll paraphrase the story. He says, you know how you can get someone to stand who has MS to stand up? He says, piss them off enough and they'll get out of their wheelchair. So, it was such a great story. We got some other people. We've got, can't say it yet. It hasn't happened, but we almost nailed it down. There is a fairly popular business show on CBC that's been on for a few years, and we have some members from that show who are dads who are going to be on the Dad Central show individually.
Okay.
And they reached out to me about being on the platform. So I'm not going to get into too much detail yet, but if you think a little bit about CBC and business shows, you probably know the show I'm talking about.
Wonderful. Yeah. Okay. We're waiting for that anxiously. Love it.
So, and also two other interesting facts. There are 8.3 million fathers in Canada.
Whoa.
And the average age of the fathers in Canada right now is about 29 years old.
Wow.
Interesting demographic fact. Yeah, 29 years old. And also on the weekend, I was interviewed with my co-host by CTV News Channel on Saturday at 3:00 by Angie Seth, who's such an incredible supporter of the hard work that I do, and she was really wonderful. And the other co-host, he was interviewed on CBC Ontario Morning on Friday, and I think we have a contest coming up with Dove Men Plus Care in the next few weeks, but we'll keep you updated on that. So that's all the things that are going on with the father thing. And actually, I'm going to be at least a 1-part, maybe not 2-part conversation. We're going to having a roundtable conversation about Black fatherhood with dads from Canada and the US. So we're going to have an international conversation about Black fatherhood. So we're working on that too. I think that's enough.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love it. Stay tuned.
That's enough. So, let's see. Ladies and gentlemen, today, our family South, and Juneteenth. Yes, Juneteenth is today.
Yes.
And it's interesting. Had a conversation on Black Canada Talking, which I host and co-produce yesterday at 5 p.m. And we had Elle Jones on and Cesar Nadima Musa. And we talked about Juneteenth and that we don't really celebrate it here in Canada. We have the Emancipation Day, which is in August. But a great conversation point came out that we should be celebrating Black significant events globally. So meaning that, yes, we in Black Canada should be celebrating Juneteenth, but then Also, Black Americans should be celebrating Emancipation Day, or at least be aware of Emancipation Day, because we are a global family. If we're really communal as we say we are, we should be celebrating that. And there's also, I think, a Black Independence Day in Brazil, I believe, in October.
Okay.
So both Elle and Cesar were saying that we should be, as a global family, aware of these days, at least, if not be aware of them, celebrate them no matter where we are in the global community.
Yeah, I love that. And even well, I know in the US they can make a lot of noise. 'Cause I saw the concert that they were doing for Juneteenth yesterday, and that looked like a big deal. So do we do something similar for Emancipation Day and
Oh, we should. Well, this is the thing, though. I think this is the first year, and I may be wrong, where it's actually a federal holiday.
right. And there's no restrictions. So it
Right.
would be the first time
So
it
this is a
opened up.
holiday. So again, we have Emancipation Day here in Canada, and one of the main drivers for that to make it recognized in Canada has been Rosemary Sadler. She has been a tireless champion for that, and I certainly need to chat. Actually, that's someone we need to. I should reach out to her from now and see if we can get her on the platform closer to Emancipation Day in regards to just talking about that. So
Absolutely.
that's that. So yeah, sorry to grab the mic for a few minutes. So
Never. It's all good.
anything else you wanted to talk about the fatherhood jam before we move on to police jam?
Right. Well, it's there was an Instagram post talking about, I think Nixon had made Father's Day like a national holiday or
Well,
a
see now
national.
this, now this is another ironic point. When you mentioned Richard Nixon,
Mhm.
last week was the 50-year anniversary of the Watergate break-in. Last week was a really funny week because it was the 50-year anniversary of the Watergate break-in. I think it was either I can't know what year, maybe I'm guessing saying the 25-year anniversary of the famous O.J. Simpson in the Bronco.
Oh boy.
That was also, there was an
25
anniversary.
years.
Yeah.
This is
And
wild.
think of the water, and the funny thing is about the Watergate break-in, that was 50 years ago. And I was watching a news special on that, and what drove President Nixon out of his offices, the members of his own party said he had to go. That's when it was.
Yes.
But the thing, and so you contrast it now to what's going on in the United States. Look at the madness that's going on, and people don't. It almost seems that, like, especially from the last president, some of the alleged things that he did, but his own party is supporting him tooth and nail.
Right.
He's allegedly was behind an insurrection, directly or indirectly. His own party is staying steadfast with him.
Right. And that's a big shift, because even the documentary that they were doing on CNN around the Watergate scandal, like you said, it was because, and they used the words like, oh, the Republicans back then at least had a heart. But
Yep.
they did.
They thought country
tapes helped a
before
lot.
Party.
They
country
didn't turn
before
until
party.
because they didn't turn until they heard his voice talking through it. They're like, yo, we can't even back this right now. But that's totally shifted now. Now,
Oh, yeah.
even with that kind of evidence, they're just steadfast to protect. And really, because if they don't, that party, it's going to be so divided. They would never.
Well, it's already divided. It's already divided. You have the 45 party, and then you have the Republican Party. So that's.
Right.
Oh, but yeah, last week was just a really historically a lot of things anniversary wise. O.J. Simpson, the Bronco. If anyone is old enough to remember that, always, I'll never forget when his not guilty verdict, when that was announced. I remember specifically where I was, and I'll never forget. I was working as only one of two melanated people in the office of a major athletic brand, and I was working out, and there were a bunch of people around me who did not look like me. And when they heard a verdict, one of the ladies went off. She went off in our fitness area, and I just went, okay. but I'll never forget that moment. I just going, man, did I feel like I was the only black person in the room, and I felt that I was the only black person in the room that day.
Whoa.
But that was a wonderful,
That's
interesting,
intense.
and I actually know the person's name, but I won't say. And funny because as I go along in my journey of life, I remember more and more. A lot of people, when they get older, they remember less. I'm remembering more. I actually know the lady's name, and it was as we were talking about it, I said, I have her name. Never thought about it just right now. I know her name.
Yes.
But yeah,
Oh
OJ
man.
Simpson and Watergate anniversaries last week, along with Ryan's conference. So again, or CBN's conference, all in
And
that
I brought
same.
him up because I think the year before is when they started that war on drugs in 71. And that
Oh boy,
pulled a lot of fathers out
that
of the
just
homes.
that destroyed a lot of black families. And the same
Yeah.
thing with Joe Biden had a crime bill,
Ah,
and the impacts of that crime bill on the black family for generations, not just the black family there, but for generations. I It's interesting when I listen to American programming, black American programming, one individual in particular, he asked his audience, how many of you have a male relative that's been incarcerated? And so many people say yes, 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 yes.
right. I think it's 1 in 81 like
Well,
is incarcerated, which is, and then now um with this report coming out in here in Toronto about how
nice
black
segue.
police are treating the black residents, you
black
see how it
black
all kind
individuals
of
are over
connects.
200 times more possible of being at least stopped by the police. A lot of
Mhm.
interesting things going down with that. uh Actually, we talked about it yesterday on
Mhm.
the Black Canada Talking. We talked about it on Friday with Louis March. Louis March was on fire on Friday. He was on fire. He
Love
asked me
it.
for. He says, "Get ready." I said, "Oh, I know what's coming. I know what's coming." And he actually, if you follow him on social media, I know at least he did this on his Instagram timeline. He pulled an article out from 43 years ago about the mistreatment of blacks by the police, Toronto
Wow.
police force.
So what are we really talking? What's this report about? Like, and I
Well,
think people in
basically,
the room said,
it's
"What is
basically the
new?"
police. Uh, it's basically saying that their own misjustice.
Mm,
They're then the interim chief of the police right now, he apologized to blacks. And there was a lady, I can't remember her name. She got up in the middle of press conference. We don't want an apology from you. We don't accept your apology.
right. I heard that clip.
Yeah, we don't accept your apology. And actually, funny, Louis knows that lady. Him and that lady have been working in. They've known each other for years and years and years ago. We actually played a little bit of that clip on Friday, and the thing is, one of the concerning things is, are what are they going to do going forward? But second of all, so they know there's there's not good performing policemen, and therefore, why aren't they disciplining them?
Well, and that's what you'd want to hear when this report comes out, is more around, hey, how do we rectify this? It was really, that's why I'm sure she threw that apology back at him, because it's like, this is stuff we already know. So what's going to change? And nothing came out of his mouth about how this is going to be really addressed.
Yeah, she was saying that we don't want apologies. We want accountability. What are you going to do? That's what we want. We don't want an apology. We want to, what are you going to do? And she was on fire saying, that she said to him that she felt that he was more apologizing to the force than to blacks.
Wow, look at
Oh
that.
yeah, she was not playing. But here's the difficult thing with it. That was last week's news. Like again, and
Mm-hmm.
actually, I'm going to make an effort to try to reach out to some of the people that were involved. And I know there was a professor who actually was one of the people that were part of the report. I'd like to get her on. I'd like to get the lady, hopefully, who pushed back against the interim chief. I'm going to see if I can find her to get her on also, because this is the thing. No offense, but the non-melanated media is only going to they move so fast. So we have to have platforms where we can have consistent conversations to make people aware who
Mm-hmm.
look like us and who don't look like us about what we think, say, feel.
Absolutely. Well, and do you know how much Black media was in attendance at that
I
apology
have,
release?
I wasn't invited,
Well,
so
I was gonna ask, well, you
well, I'm
weren't
not,
there.
but I don't know how much but any coverage I saw of her response was on non-melody media, like your CP24s, your CTV News, and I think there's that spawns me an idea to see how do black media get invited to these events, who's on the media list. Like
Right.
I heard through social media that this event was happening, but I had no idea where it was happening, etc., and all that. But I think that's another area where we have to go where people don't expect us to be.
But then that's where it needs to shift to, if anything is happening that involves the Black community, it should be expected that Black media is there to cover it. Like,
Well, here's another interesting fact. I don't know, you know the name Sarah Ayongo?
no.
She's done media for many years. She's based in the Ottawa area. I think
Okay.
uh, when the federal government has their media lockup, which is before they announce a budget, they go over the budget with media before they announce it publicly. If I'm not mistaken, and she can correct me if I'm wrong with this, the last time they did this, she was the only Black reporter in the room.
See, I wouldn't doubt it. Like that. Like, how do we flip that? Where, because if we have the list, they should have the list and get on that invite list.
So actually, I will make a note of it and ask Sarah how that access can happen.
Absolutely. Because that is one thing that we have to shift. Like us being able to, and it came up at the conference around controlling the narrative of our stories has to be through our own media outlets. And if we're not there as these things are happening, we're not going to be able to capture the stories. And then we're relying on the spin from the mainstream media. Like that's what we're getting in order to do the, I guess, reporting. We have to get it direct from the source. Like there should be an interview with the chief of police in Toronto with Black
Yes.
media outlets direct.
Yes. Um, well, I'm sure the Toronto police have a media department, and I'm going to do some. Yeah, I have an idea going through my alleged mind about that.
I like that.
Through my alleged mind, I have a thought process with that. So people, you see me typing a lot. I'm either responding to people or I actually have my digital notepad taking down ideas to see if we can flush them through to make them reality. But yeah, that police report. But the thing is, no surprise. I don't think it's really and truly my thought process. They wanted to make a decision and take action. How are things going to change? It's not like if you know, let's put it this way, if you're in a corporation and you do wrong, there's some sort of reparation.
Right?
So to hear that, my concern is to hear that some members of your staff are not behaving properly and there's no disciplinary action. How do you expect, how does your apology look to a group of Blacks saying, oh, we messed up, we were wrong, etc., but we're not going to punish anybody?
Yeah, every single complaint over the last 50 years should be reopened. This report is showing that those complaints were justified. Those incarcerated should be looked at. Like, was that necessary based on the situation? They did nothing. They did none of that. So that, like what she was saying around that apology being hollow, is because it didn't follow up with those types of actionable items.
Right. So it's interesting that if you and I mess up in our organizations, there's a price to pay.
Right.
So it's a little bit disappointing. And it's interesting too. I didn't hear anything much from John Tory, the mayor of Toronto, about his comments on that area. But that's under his watch.
Very true.
And I have not heard anything from John Tory about that. And yeah, that's very concerning, because what's going to change? And and it's a very disappointing, but not surprising. The thing is, and we'll get back. There's a whole area of defunding the police, this, that, and the other thing. That's a whole other conversation, right there. That's for the WhatsApp people. I know you remember all these WhatsApp. You remember all those WhatsApp groups. You take that to the next level. But I think we've got everything covered for the morning so far. Is there anything else people want us to chime in about? Yeah, we're just chopping it up here. Hopefully we'll have someone on for Friday.
So this is who we are booking for Friday.
You've got someone. You're giving a little bit of a hype.
I'll give a little teaser. So Dr. Carrie Yazid, I don't know if you know her, but she works understanding employees and work culture, very deep into DEI work. And so I met her
interesting,
because of the the Juneteenth ice cream at Walmart.
Yes.
And now the Black Focus Vaseline that has come out recently. So we're gonna have her on to dig a bit deeper into her thoughts around how these missteps get past the DEI offices at these big organizations.
I'm very, very interested to have her come and show us, because I have some serious questions, because I really, it's one of my thoughts. I go is, okay, DEI, it almost seems to be like a catchword, but I don't hear it as much anymore.
Oh yeah.
And what have companies done really to show what these companies are rolling out? What are they doing? Tim,
I'll tell you.
Tim has actually a question. He says, I missed the conversation beginning. Was there talk about continuing talks about the Black ecosystem going to be? Yes.
So Tuesday evenings, we are starting the study group. So the first one is going to be June 28th, and it will be in person and also streamed online. So if you can't make it, but the first one is here at Empowered for X. The Eventbrite is created. So an email went out to all the attendees of the conference, and we're going to be putting together like a flyer and sending it out in our newsletter. So you will get notification about the ongoing conversations after the conference, for sure.
So basically, if you haven't got it yet, Tim, chat with Ryan digitally or directly, and you'll get informed about that. But you were saying about our friend that's coming on Friday.
I wanted to say really quick, you're asking what has happened with the DEI conversations. I've been in rooms and meetings where a person from a company was deemed the DEI manager, and then they say openly like, oh, I was given this role and told to show up at this meeting. Companies are just designating a person with DEI label.
I've been told to show up at this meeting.
Like, dude, if you don't want to be here. So that's my experience of what some companies are doing with this DEI work.
Wow. I've been told to show up at this meeting. So totally unprepared, have no idea what's going on. And this is
100%
what I've heard from some experiences. Yes, the companies hire someone who's DEI. They give them no staff.
Oh, yeah. It's just them.
It's just them.
And they don't have an office. They're just
given
the label.
What? I'm going, you're not being set up for success.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, what can we expect from that type of dismissive approach?
And that's a concern, because it's almost, again, symbolism.
Thank you.
Yes. Right? Symbolism in action, right? Symbolism. And let's be honest, people, the window of shining about for melanated people in North America when it comes to EI ain't gonna last forever.
Not at all.
It's not gonna last forever. Do we honestly believe that the energies about DI are going to be as strong now
Mhm.
as they were 2 years ago?
Well, look at the research outlet The Plug in the US. They did a report about, I think it was $50 billion pledged to the Black community because of what happened 2 years ago, and how what percentage of that is actually rolled out. Very small percentage. Globe and Mail also doing a report on the
Yep.
Black North Initiative. 500 plus CEOs have signed on to this pledge. We actually need to do a report to see how much of that funding has actually flowed, because that pledge said that they're supposed to give, I think, 2.5% of their
Mm-hmm.
philanthropic giving to Black North Initiative. Or so we can calculate what that number should be. Has that actually rolled out? From surface level, I can tell you highly, like it. I haven't seen it, and if anybody else has seen it, please let me know. But I
Yeah,
have not seen
but
that.
this is, and again, yes, we can. Yeah, there's blame on, there's concern on both ends. We have to consistently put pressure on these organizations, and then they've got to step up to the plate. But if they're not, just in a lot of like in a lot of cases, if pressure is not put on them, they're not going to move.
True.
And Marlon has a question: what's happening with the Block Opportunity Fund in that regard? Ryan, you can probably answer that better than me.
Well, they mentioned some programs that they're working on at the conference. One around, I believe it was restaurateur financing,
Yes, but
food
yeah,
space.
Marlon said they raised a real program for Black. I will jump in, and I had a quick conversation with Craig on Thursday. He said they have some announcements coming,
Mm,
so I'm going to go on Craig's word that they have some stuff coming up in the next weeks rolled around their, I think their 2 year anniversary. The Black Opportunity Fund is coming up, so they have some
mm.
announcements coming up in the next few weeks. So we'll wait patiently to hear what they're going to be delivering.
All right, but not wait long. So we be patient for so long, but
Yeah.
yes,
Then you
looking
get the
forward
standard. Well,
to.
then you'll get the standards. You go. We'll get the standard response from a lot of organizations. Oh, these things take time.
Yes, 2 years worth. two
Well, you know
years.
what? Let's see what they come up with. That's a whole other. And Marlon's going in now. How do they execute something like that without knowing without working with their partners in the ecosystem? Ryan, question.
And that's a great question, because that is something that I need to bring to Craig. Is you drop that, I would say, announcement at the conference, but you could have let ecosystem partners know what you're working on, especially since there's two organizations in the ecosystem that work specifically with restaurants and foodpreneurs. Tim Frey is deep invested in the restaurant space, has wealth of knowledge that he should be part of those conversations. So if the ecosystem doesn't know what people are working on, this is where it doesn't launch with the
Well,
right
and it's interesting because
approach.
we can go a little bit further there. When Craig announced that, and I'm not being critical, I'm just
Mm,
putting it out there as fact. There were at least one, two, two ecosystem partners there. One that works specifically in the food area. I'm not
right.
going to make name names, so you and I know who that is.
Mm,
And then there's another organization that has their own ethnic food program.
yes.
Plus, you have Tim Frey.
Yes. So we can do better than that. Like yeah, we have to have that
There,
conversation.
Marlon says it appears that they top external resources that are not interested. I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna touch that statement. That's what you're
Well, I
saying.
want to see. I do want to see who they partnered with. Like, I didn't hear him announce who they're working on the platform or program with. So
Mhm.
I do want to see who they're
Marlon
working
says Tim Frey is such an expert. I've been looking to work in our community. So, what I'm going to do, well, I'll have an offline because I think there needs to be at least an I'm going to talk about Tim Frey to at least one of those organizations in the next 24 to 36 hours.
Solid.
The one that I feel that would be most, that I know that would be most, what's the word I'm looking for? Wanting to chat with them, because there are one or two I don't know if they're, but again, it says I should just share. But the other two I'm thinking about, but I know there's at least one that could maybe, at least they need to know about each other.
Makes sense. No, that's good.
So that is my mindset. Whenever I have especially conversations like these, my mindset is, okay, who does this person need to be introduced to, and what does that organization know about that other person? So that
Nice.
is what. So Tim, we're gonna do some work for you in the next day or so. See some stuff can happen. So
Nice.
what's up for the rest of the week?
Yeah, so we're gonna the Paku town hall is tomorrow. Tomorrow evening at the JCA Center. More information will follow, and the rest of the week, finalizing some of the other granting programs that ACBN is working on. We're in conversation with FedDev to do more types of work for entrepreneurs and building out community centers. So really getting that finalized. The investment readiness program should be launching soon. So if people have been following my grant info sessions on Wednesdays, I talk a lot about the investment readiness program because it's one of the best grants I've seen for profit businesses, especially social enterprises. So that should be coming online soon. And yeah, it's just the work continues. And I'm preparing for next week's first study group. I'm excited about that one.
Wow,
Curious to see how many people show up and attend.
that'll be interesting. Well, I don't know about it, so I ain't showing up. So,
Because you didn't register, I'll send it to you personally.
oh
But yes, you will get your invitation and your passport to come across
yes,
young.
yes. I have to say that I was allowed to come in
Right?
to I pass Young Street with this,
Yes,
and they
that's the
let
PO
me
passport.
to the West Coast. For the West Coast, so I got
Yes,
let in.
you got the stamp.
I got my stamp. I got my stamp, but no, it was
Nice.
yeah, it was all right. It was all right. I went there with excitement. I wasn't afraid. I knew that saga was going to be all right. So we survived. So that's it, folks. You thanks for hanging out with us as always. We're working on stuff to make it better for you, but you're always welcome to chat with us and tell us how it can be made better. Let me do this first. What's going on here? There, that's my contact information. You got Ryan's already there. You can watch replays of the Morning Vibe at all these different platforms. We got a challenge going on with some Facebook stuff on Ryan's platform that we got to work on, but mine it's there. And we're wishing everyone a really good week. The weather is getting nice. Actually, I'm going to leave with this. It's a very interesting story. So I was looking around to get some quotes for some air conditioning stuff I need to get done at the house here. And I went to a black firm to get a quote. So I got the quote and go, wow, that's a lot. So just out of curiosity, I called a non-melanated firm and they quoted me $2,000 less.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going, how is that? How is that? So I'm just going to leave with that message, that last thing. So as always, I want to say thanks everyone for the time. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller, get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace. And don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And finally, a tree that doesn't have any roots is a piece of wood. See you Friday.